Lexus NX and RX are the bread and butter of the modern Lexus lineup. And for the 2026 model year, we have here the Lexus NX in its most powerful and potent form, the 450h plug-in hybrid, aka the 450h Plus. And this vehicle has been a really hot success for the brand. It looks fantastic still even to this day and offers a really large breadth of technology and luxury for the price point. And of course, it has that standard Lexus reliability coming with all of their models. But this model year also brings in a lot of hot competitors throughout the entire segment, from the European brands, from the American brands, and even the Japanese brands as well. So does this 2026 Lexus NX still stand out enough today to be a strong selling vehicle against its competition? And another big question I want to answer in this video today is, should you consider the plug-in hybrid Lexus NX over the pure gas or other hybrid options you can get throughout the Lexus NX lineup? Let's go dive in, and I'm going to take you all on a full in-depth tour and review of this vehicle. And we're going to see if you should consider this 2026 Lexus NX 450h Plus in the luxury trim. Now, for the 2026 model year, we actually are losing the entry-level Lexus NX. Now, that's only the 250 trim, but this is, as we see right here, the high-end 450h Plus. And we've actually driven this engine and powertrain on the channel before, way back when in the Toyota RAV4 Prime. It's an identical setup here. It combines a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine with 3 electric motors. And now the electric motors purely drive the rear axle of this vehicle to create an all-wheel drive system, so this front engine does not have a direct connection to those rear wheels whatsoever, and combined system output is pretty strong at around 302-ish horsepower. Now, believe it or not, this is actually a little bit down on power compared to the all-new Toyota RAV4 that just came out this year, but we expect this Lexus NX to get a pretty heavy refresh either next year or the year after, and it's probably going to have the more updated power numbers from said powertrain in that RAV4 there. But we have around an 18 kilowatt-hour battery pack in this vehicle as well, mounted in the rear. And of course, that's going to enable you up to around 37 miles of EV range, which is extremely impressive. Now, of course, you can only level 2 charge this NX via the charge port door on the passenger side over there. But overall, this is a pretty efficient powertrain. Even when driving in a hybrid mode, you can get around 36 miles per gallon, which isn't as impressive as the regular, just pure hybrid NX350h, but it's still pretty impressive if you are someone who's going to be plugging in this vehicle. And that's really where it makes sense to get the plug-in hybrid. If you don't want to plug in your vehicle, just go for the regular hybrid NX, where you don't have to plug it in and it does it all for itself. But if you want the extra power, you're going to plug it in. You're really going to benefit from purchasing this powertrain, and there are very, very few direct competitors to this plug-in hybrid NX. Now, one area where I think Lexus is really standing out strong still today is their styling language on both the RX and the NX. They look really good, and I still think the NX looks way better than the RX even as well, despite it being a little bit smaller. And this color, Grecian blue, is absolutely gorgeous. I remember seeing this on the NX on this generation when it debuted. I still think it's awesome today. Really great metallic flake. And you can get the NX in 2 distinct design flavors. You can get this in the F Sport handling package, or you can get it in this package, which is the luxury trim. And as configured, this NX is around $70,000 almost. It's pretty high up there. And though, yeah, you are getting quite a lot of stuff, it is definitely a price to pay, and a lot more expensive than a comparable Lexus NX 350h or even a 350, where you can get all these features for over $10,000 plus less money. So you really got to be decisive if you want this plug-in hybrid powertrain. Nonetheless, this is a great looking vehicle. We still have our signature Lexus spindle grille design over here, and this kind of gunmetal metallic finish for this luxury trim. Really distinctive daytime running lights still. I think it all looks really great. And you have a lot of nice luxury amenities, such as turning lights down there, LED fog lights as well, and a whole bunch of safety sensors all tucked in throughout the front of the vehicle. Though it isn't the most advanced safety systems you can get from Lexus right now, which we saw on the RX and a few other vehicles, where you have a driver monitor, for example. But this one does still get a lot of great features, which we'll talk about into the driving impressions. I also think the rear end of the NX, the side profile, and the hood all are really fantastic options compared to, say, a BMW X3 or a GLC. It all makes it very distinctly Lexus, and I do like that a lot about this vehicle. This luxury trim is also getting that brighter gunmetal style trim on the roof rails as well, and the side mirrors. If you want all of that blacked out, you're going to go for the F Sport package, what makes it look a little bit more sporty. Joining me on the wheel and tire side of this Lexus NX 450h Plus, this is something I have been having some doubts over this week. So we have these actually quite nice 20-inch wheels in this gunmetal style metallic finish. Again, if you want something more sporty, go for the F Sport package. But this is the tire setup on this thing that I'm not super happy with. These are Bridgestone, I believe Alenza tires here, but they're run flats. I'm not the biggest fan of run flat tires because if you don't know, inside of a run flat tire, there's a really stiff kind of component in there which is supposed to help you in the event of a flat to drive a little bit further on it before you can go to a shop and get it fixed or whatever. But what happens with this is it creates not the best driving experience. Now, this vehicle does not have an adaptive damper system. Again, you need to go to the F Sport package if you would like that. It's tuned for more luxury driving, more softer but yet controlled ride. And overall, I think it does this very well on this NX, but this run flat tire, I think, hampers the experience. Again, coming out to the rear of the Lexus NX, I think it looks absolutely fantastic still with this light bar, split LED taillight design, really distinctive. And again, the NX is pretty spacious in its rear cargo area. It may not be the biggest in class, but it is pretty large. And after popping open our power tailgate over here, we're gonna see these nice metal scuff plates back here, which is great. We also have this cargo cover and net that can be removed. It's actually quite squishy. I wonder if it's for sound damping back here. And this rear carpet over here actually has tan stitching, which I believe is supposed to match this tan interior we have inside over here. Popping open our floor, we're actually going to find a little bit of some underfloor storage over here, which I think is pretty great. So we have our charging cables back here, which is Lexus branded, which I think is quite nice. This one's also getting a first aid kit. We have some tie down points over here. And when you fold this second row down in the NX is where it becomes a little bit interesting, as it actually has just around the same total full cargo space as the bigger Lexus RX. Now that's only when you fold that second row down. When the second row is up, the RX has more cargo space behind there, as the RX is a little bit bigger in that department. Let's go hop inside. We have our signature Lexus key fob here. We have those digital style doors over here. And I do like though that all four doors get keyless access. Really nice contrasting trim here, but again, you don't physically pull them. There's like a little E-latch there that opens up the door. And let's see if we have a full massive door opening. Okay, I wouldn't say it's the biggest door opening, but that's enough to get in and out. I would like to see a larger door opening, but that's what the RX is for. Now, since this is a luxury trim, we get a really nice interior in this in particular NX. And just quickly looking at this door panel over here, soft touch materials up here, nice gunmetal trim. We have open pore, black wood in here, a Mark Levinson upgraded audio system, this gorgeous Palomino kind of tan leather on the door panels over here, and down here, some scratchier black plastics, but that's totally fine, I believe, for this segment. We have a door cubby over here with a nice cup holder style slot there, and an E-latch over here for a door that has an emergency release if you need it, lock unlock switch, and a window switch there. And let's go hop inside. Getting in the NX is pretty easy of a process. We actually have a really tall opening here, so I don't feel like I'm going to hit my head on this. Closing up the door, pretty solid thunk there. And check out the rear seats of this really nice cabin in this Lexus NX. So again, door panels are very nice large windows up here, and immediately you're going to notice up top is we actually have a tan headliner and upper portion of this kind of trim panel over here. Now, we do have a decent amount of leg space in this NX, though, which is nice. So as you can see, I have a good amount of foot room down there, and we have a storage cubby on the backs of both front driver and passenger seats, which is really great. And leg space is actually pretty good. I was thinking it was going to be a little bit tight on the visual front back here, but on the actual setting space back here, it's actually not too bad. We also are getting our own air vents back here, which is a nice touch, though no individual sort of climate adjustments other than just opening and closing these vents. And down here, we're going to find a 12-volt socket as well as two USB-C ports back here, which is a nice touch. Now, interesting though back here is we have this hard scratchy panel in the centerpiece. I wish this was actually carpet. I think that would be a little bit more of a nicer luxury touch to this cabin, but the seats themselves I think are already good enough. They're pretty comfortable. They have a good amount of cushion in them. The upper portions are actually just pretty nice and supportive, and we are getting our own cup holders back here, which is a nice squishy armrest in the center, which is a nice touch. And we do have lights back here behind us, and largely they're located back here because we have this absolutely massive panoramic glass roof that does open up front there, and it has this gorgeous tan matched sunshade, which is again a really cool, nice touch the Lexus has done to this cabin. Let's see if we can sit in the center here, because I think this is an important thing to see. And you know what? We do. It's not exactly just as wide as the Lexus RX, but it's really close, I have to say. So if you do need to squeeze three people in the back here, it will be a little bit of a squeeze, but not as bad as I was initially expecting. We do have ISOFIX anchor points that are just exposed back there, so no covers. And overall, this is a pretty good rear cabin to be in this Lexus NX. Now, hopping up front in our Lexus NX, again, we do have full power folding mirrors. And again, those are digital door handles where you can use a digital key if you would like via the Lexus app. And just as in the rear seats, these front door panels are just as nice with all these really wonderful materials in here. And this particular luxury trim is also going to get us these aluminum side sill plates here. Nice carpeting with that contrasting tan stitching. I would have liked to see aluminum pedals, but I believe that's on the F Sport models. And again, we have this really gorgeous tan interior option here, the Palomino leather interior. And let's go hop inside and check out what's going on in this cabin. So stepping inside the Lexus NX up front here, a little bit easier to get in than the rear seats. Pretty solid door thunk here, and we've seen this interior quite a few times on the channel here, and we have our giant power switch up here. So let's put our foot on the brake and bring it to life. So as we did just come out of the Lexus RX 500h F Sport Performance, we have a pretty familiar cabin in here as to that vehicle. So really lovely steering wheel. I feel like the steering wheel is a little bit of a smaller diameter than the RX we just got out of. And since this is the luxury trim, I believe this is a nice leather. It feels like leather to me, and actually is a really nice steering wheel in the hands. And we do have paddle shifters on this one, even though we have an CVT sort of transmission here, even though it's not a real CVT, it's that planetary gear set. Nice gauge stalks over here, which are really great. And just as we saw on the RX, we still have some physical buttons retained here for our trip computer, our brightness, gas tank as well. And we do have a little storage cubby over here, which is felt lined, and I do really like that as well. Switch gear is really great for our window controls, as well as our side mirror controls. We have memory seats as well in this particular vehicle. And I will say the dash structure, just like in the RX, is really cool looking. I think the screens being tilted to the driver are really great. I just don't like the heavy use of this gloss black material all throughout the entire driver cockpit. I just had to wipe it down because there was so much dust collected on it, and with the sun it's reflecting in my eyes and it looks a little bit gross, honestly. Other than that, it does look pretty nice in here. We do have a heads-up display on this one, which just like in the RX is pretty important because just like in that vehicle, Lexus's steering wheel controls have this sort of dual layers to them, so that yes, they are all physical buttons, but they all have this haptic or sort of capacitive touch function to them. So I can swipe my finger around them so it previews what the button does. Then I can confirm it by clicking on the button. So our volume stocks here, for example, and when I press this more button here, they flip to be more controls. Same thing with the right hand side. So they flip to be more controls, and they can be completely customized in the infotainment system. So I can make this my drive mode selector if I wanted to, or I can make this, you know, AC controls versus being screen controls there. So you have a lot of flexibility there. So the RX featured a fully digital cluster. If you notice right here, this screen actually cuts off right where I just put my finger there. Fuel gauge on the right and the battery meter on the left are just actual carved into the cluster there, so they're always there. But this center portion is mildly configurable. So if I go to more here and I press display, you can see I could change that center portion because all of these controls are mirrored in the heads-up display. It may not be showing on camera the best, but as you can see there, it's in your line of sight. Now, other than that, there isn't too much actual configurability on this cluster compared to the other Lexus products here that have a full digital cluster, but the rest of the cabin is really nice. I think this is a strong point of this interior, is it feels very high-end. I love this design and the centerpiece over here. This is all nice, soft touch and matches the color of this interior here. There's ambient lighting literally everywhere, and it's in very tasteful places. It isn't overly used in like some Mercedes products, for example. And this kind of gloss black bar over here with some of it in this cabin hides our drive mode selector here. So this is unique to the plug-in hybrid. So we have a normal mode here, eco and sport, and that does change our gauge just a little bit. So you can see the sport gauge there. We also have eco mode, and then we have normal drive mode right there as well. So some different configurations in that department there. And this is our very familiar Lexus looking shifter. So drive, hold for neutral, reverse. And since we don't have a real gearbox, we have an S mode for a sport programming of this eCVT transmission here. Otherwise, in other Lexus, you have a manual mode there. We also are getting our hold button, traction control off, and multi-terrain select mode, as well as our hybrid modes here. So this is a pretty important button. So we can make it in hybrid mode as we have it right now. I can put it in pure EV mode given that I have enough range. And if I hold down this button here, it's going to go into charge mode. And what that does is it makes the engine turn on, and then it starts charging up the battery pack with this nice visualization there of what's going on as we do in our digital cluster up there. So you can actually do quite a few things. We don't always recommend the charge mode as not the very efficient way to charge this battery. You just plug it in. Now we have two large cup holders over here. They don't push down like I believe we saw on the RX, so it doesn't fully expand, but I like this gunmetal trim around it. And we also are getting a USB-C, USB-A, storage cubby over here, and this tray opens up to reveal a wonderful felt-lined center console over here with the two USB-C ports and a 12-volt socket. So a lot of charging solutions. You're going to note there's no wireless charger in this one as it doesn't have it optioned, even at almost $70,000. I honestly don't care because they don't work very well on Lexuses, and I think it would be right here. But if you do want one, you do have to actually pay extra for it. This center armrest is wonderful. You know, it's a standard Lexus Toyota bifolding design here, but it's very nicely trimmed and squishy as well in this particular NX, and it's huge and felt lined. So in this entire storage cubby over here, we have a lot of nice felt lined space so nothing clanks around, but no additional charging ports in this centerpiece, only up front over here. We also are getting a nice matching tan colored glove box over here that is quite large and felt lined as well, which is very premium feeling. And of course, the full main centerpiece of this interior is this massive touchscreen display here. We've seen this in many products now, including some Subarus that are using this technology, and it's angled towards the driver just a little bit, so that means, you know, accessing it from the steering wheel as you're driving isn't too difficult. We do have this area over here that always has air climate controls, as we've seen in other Lexuses, so I can adjust my temperature just like this. We do have a quick access controls for our digital camera system over here, and just like in other products of the Toyota Lexus family, it does this little spinny thing until you put it into drive or reverse, and that's when you can actually access the full 360 capabilities of this camera. This one's also getting a parking assistant, which is okay. It doesn't always work the best. It takes a little bit of time, but what's cool is you actually have remote park assist. So if you have the Lexus app, I believe you can actually get out of your vehicle and have the car just park itself. Heated and ventilated seats in this luxury spec package, and that can be in an auto mode here. We have some additional favorite modes here, so your frequently used favorite icons will pop up in this little frequently used area over here. You can swipe through and kind of access more things, like some more driver assistance settings here. And then we come to this infotainment system, which I think at this point, if you've watched our videos, you know how I feel about it. It works. It's generally fine. It's pretty basic and simple. And I just saw on the all-new Lexus TZ that's coming out, as well as the new Lexus ES, they fixed my complaints. So my complaint is that they don't have a home screen on this particular current system here. You either have to be in Maps, or you have to be in Music, or you have to be, you know, one of these screens, or in Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. There's no like set home screen with widgets. They fixed that in their newer systems that are coming out on some new vehicles. But for now, you know, you have to kind of go into one of these screens. And the settings, as I mentioned in the other products of this screen that we've tested, are a little bit cumbersome to use, for example. So I like the screens in here, the energy flow screen. You can see what's going on with our all-wheel drive system, all that great stuff. But the settings can get pretty in-depth and pretty customizable, so you definitely have to sit down, take some time, and customize it to your liking. And here you can actually see we can change the meter style of our digital cluster, so it could be a clean view, it could be this more speed focused view, or this hybrid view we have over there, and all that's done through here. We also can change our interior ambient lighting from this panel over here, but all this stuff does lock out the second you put it into drive or reverse. So if I go into drive here, you're going to notice that all these screens now become blank. So I guess you shouldn't be using any of this technically while driving, but you do get a very limited amount of customization. And let's say a passenger wants to make an adjustment, they can. Change the ambient light color to red.
Setting ambient lighting to flare red.
And one other call out for this interior are actually these seats. Since these are the luxury seats, they're meant to be luxurious. They're very soft with the leather. I love the heating. I love the cooling. I just don't think the seat bottoms sections are the best in terms of just support. They're very comfortable. I wouldn't say they're fatigue inducing, but I would like a little bit more support on the sides. Like I mentioned, we have this digital rear view mirror as well, and this one does have the garage home link integrated, and we also have that normal function of the regular mirror there. Up top over here, we have a nice little sunglass holder that is felt lined in the interior. Really bright interior lighting that is LED, and we have our controls for our shade, and I'm opening panoramic glass roof, as you can see right there. It is pretty big, and we have these nice color matched nice big sun visors over here, and they do slide out to almost cover the entirety of this side glass panel over there. But otherwise, This is a pretty nice cabin. It definitely feels unique. It feels very premium, well built, luxurious. This is a Japanese built vehicle at the end of the day, so maybe expect a little bit higher precision and quality here than compared to some other maybe North American built Lexuses, for example. And yeah, this is a nice cabin. I'd like to see some of the technology improved. I know they're working on it, and we'll get to the driving characteristics now and see how it handles out on the road. So driving around town off the bat, it's really quiet in here. You will notice that. So Lexus has done a great job at noise insulation. It's one of their hallmarks, I would say. You can actually make this camera come on automatically every time you come to a stop. But right now, I actually put it in charge mode, for example. So I'm going to turn off the AC pretty low. We'll pop it into EV mode. And it's super quiet in here. Our battery is a little bit on the low end right now. You normally can get up to around 37 miles of pure electric range. But you can just hear how quiet it is in EV mode. And honestly, acceleration isn't bad in EV mode. Really instant, a lot of torque actually, of course, as you would expect with an electric motor there. And I would say 0 to 60 in EV mode takes around 9-ish seconds or 8 to 9 seconds. In the other modes, it takes around 5-6 second range, and you have that full combined power output there. We'll pop it back into hybrid vehicle mode there. Engine kicks on, very smooth transition between this and the electric motor is the gas engine. It's a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine in this vehicle. And of course we can drive it, as I mentioned, in eco mode, for example. So the throttle mapping is a little bit on the softer side. Push it in for normal mode. And if you turn it to the right, we get a sport drive mode as well. And the sport drive mode definitely unlocks the full power out of this Lexus NX, and it's surprisingly peppy of an amount of power here. Now the interesting thing though is you have an electronic rear axle. So out back we actually have just pure e-motors driving those rear wheels, and the front motor is getting a lot of power because you have both the electric motor up front as well as that gas engine here, so lots of power is going up there. And this is an interesting part of the Lexus NX's driving experience. Specifically in this luxury trim we have here, you can get the F-Sport handling package, which gets adaptive dampers and a little bit of some stiffer components throughout the chassis. But this is definitely tuned for a comfortable driving experience. It's not really a sporty vehicle. And you know, while it's not a sporty vehicle, the steering itself isn't particularly good at feel, but it's very on center, very direct feeling, which is nice. The body control is pretty good for a pretty heavy vehicle. It's around 4,500 pounds. It takes itself around a corner well. It's not sporty, but it's very composed. Not too much body roll actually. I was expecting a little bit more out of this plug-in hybrid. And generally the suspension really has a nice, almost controlled float aspect to it over bumps. Is actually quite soothing, especially if you're a passenger in the vehicle. As a driver, it's also generally pretty nice, and just like in the RX I feel just tested recently, there's a little bit of some head toss motions here. You have a generally higher center of gravity out of this TNGA-K architecture, especially with the battery pack placement of this one, than some other vehicles. It isn't the highest mountain point on the vehicle of this battery pack, but it's I believe right where the rear seats are, right underneath those, so you kind of feel that just a little bit, but it's not really the worst thing. What's annoying though are these run flat tires that this one has on it. This suspension, I feel it could do such a better job if it didn't have these run flats. We have those of course because we don't have a spare due to the battery packs and all that stuff in the rear of the vehicle, but I think it kind of mildly hurts this driving experience just a little bit. I can feel through the steering wheel some vibration and harshness, specifically coming from those tires, and that's how I'm able to tell it's coming from the tires and not the suspension, because if I kind of let go of the wheel just briefly, it just kind of soaks up bumps just a lot better. And if I put my hands on the wheel, I can feel some of the vibrations coming through that tire section over there. So I guess if you want to stuff on non-run flats, I would say you probably have a better driving experience out of this Lexus NX than with them, if you want to sacrifice that ability to drive a little bit further if you do ever get into a flat tire situation here. Generally though, it's a pretty nice, comfortable, quiet vehicle. You have a really good driving position. I would say you're pretty high up actually, but that gives you a good overall view of around the road around you. I like this digital rear view camera, and again, you can make it regular as we saw, but it may take some getting used to if you're not used to it. We do have a pretty good radar adaptive cruise control system on this Lexus NX as well, so it's now activated. You just just press this one button on the right hand panel over there, and we can adjust our following distance and speed very easily as well in this vehicle. I will note that we don't actually have the driver monitor on this car, so that's both a plus and a minus. And the positive side, it's really annoying actually. If you're someone who likes to drive like this, no matter how many times you press like disable, it still will beep at you saying it can't see your face. So that kind of takes up a whole bunch of the screen when it pops up that notification, for example. On the other side of that, the negative is you don't get that ability, I believe, in this car to do the traffic jam assist, where it kind of takes over control of driving for you in low speed traffic situations. So there are your ups and downs with that, but we still actually get lane change assist. So if I put on my blinker here, just hold it just a little bit, I have to check my surroundings here, and it will automatically change lanes for me, which is nice. It blends right into traffic when you're in the adaptive cruise control mode, for example, adjust speed and your following distance, all really pretty well. It isn't the quickest lane change assist system I've seen, but for those different features, it actually works pretty well, but you do have to be in that adaptive cruise enabled mode there. Now we'll pop it back into regular driving mode, put it into sport mode for a second here, and put this eCVT into sport mode. We have actually simulated gears here. Overall smoothness of this powertrain is pretty smooth, actually. This is a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that's shared with a lot of vehicles in the Toyota lineup, like a lot of vehicles, including things like the Prius and all that. So it's very durable, it's gonna last forever, but it isn't the most luxurious powertrain in that regard. Something out of like a BMW or even the Volvo 4-cylinder has a little bit more of a premium, overall refined feel to it, even though those are typically boosted engines. This one's okay, but you're trading a lot of that here for reliability, longevity, and just some overall ease of maintenance in this particular Lexus, even though you still are able to get pretty decent power numbers out of this car. So overall, the course of this week, this has been a pretty nice vehicle to test out. Again, the most powerful Lexus NX, nothing really crazy new for 2026. So if you are looking at one of these, maybe consider a 2025 or 4, because you're really not gonna be missing out on anything else, and you may save some money there. But if you are someone who is not going to plug in this NX450h Plus and you just want a hybrid NX, just go straight for the 350h. You're going to save yourself a lot of money, and you'll get a pretty overall similar, pretty much identical experience here. It's if you're plugging it in, if you're going to be using that EV range in all of these daily driving scenarios, that's when you're really going to make this vehicle worth it a lot more to you versus those other Lexus NX trim levels there. So definitely take that into consideration. But I do appreciate the comfort and luxurious nature that this Lexus NX is offering. It's really quiet in here, which is nice. I like this unique cabin that you can get in this particular NX, and compared to some German or European competitors, for example, this interior shockingly feels a little bit nicer than those. We still get some nice trim pieces in here. You're getting the ambient lighting, you're getting all the technology as well. So I wouldn't say you're missing out too much here. It's just if you want something of a more dynamic driving experience, the NX probably isn't for you. It's more comfortable, more luxurious in that regard. Otherwise, guys, thank you for joining us on yet another full tour and review over at Allcarnews. And as always, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.